welcome to the True Self Talk right after our energy session. It is March 19th, 2023. We are in a very interesting time, and these True Self sessions, Connect with Your True Self sessions, I've been doing them for now nearly 12 years every month as an opportunity for us to build a relationship, to tune into what our true self is, and hopefully also the guidance that comes through this tuning in process. And today was a very interesting session. We're heading into the spring equinox here in the Northern Hemisphere, and a very powerful new moon. So this new moon is the one that kind of sets the tone for the rest of the year, or like actually a full 12-month cycle, so until next year. And it's something that we have every year, so that's not the unusual part. But the unusual part is that we are in a massive transformation with our collective here. We're experiencing extremely rapid changes and a lot of push, a lot of pressure. And that is something that we experienced here, facilitating this energy session with all of you as well. A push, a pressure. And it took about, Annette, Gorsha, what would you say? It took about 45 minutes to get past this almost automatic push from the inside. And as we were working through the energies of this, so we're going to reflect on this here in a few moments, we noticed that there are some aspects of ourself, okay, that are in something like an automatic mode. We're like not really ourself. And this is then what made us investigate these aspects of, I don't like the term that much, but it is a term that comes from psychology, to investigate our false self. So what is not true in ourself right now, that we are in this sort of automatic response mode, and how can we overcome this? And the first question that we need to answer when it comes to connecting with our true self, and this was in the room today, is what is the true self? What is this? And then obviously when we identify, okay, something is not the true self, and we call this false self, then we have to ask ourselves, what is my false self? What do we need to relieve ourselves from?
I think mine is the relaxation, the ability to just sort of rest in my heart and just be okay to just be.
Mm-hmm. And what is needed for this? What do you think you need to just be?
I think for me, I need to sort of, I know center, but more ground.
Okay, so for you, this search, or this this connection with your true self, provides that for you? Does it do that? But I'm not referring to the energy session that we just had per se, but in that realm, when you go into that same mode where you connect, where you consciously connect with your true self.
Yeah, I think so. But I was thinking more about this session, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, we obviously all searching for answers here right now. Yeah, so this is also a sign of this time that, pushes us or asks us or delivers the impulse to, find ourselves sort of in this world with a little more plan, I guess, yeah, to answer some of the unknowns that are there. Yeah, who am I? Who am I in this world? Where's the world going? Yeah, where can I see myself for the future? That's, typically why we want to connect more with our true self. But at the same time, there's also a reference feeling that comes with that. This is the one that you're referring to, the relaxation. So there is something that we can let go of, that we can relieve ourselves from when we connect with our true self. And I would love for you guys to pinpoint exactly what that is. What needs to let go of in order to connect with your
Old
true
beliefs.
self? Old beliefs. Okay,
Yeah.
keep going. Keep going. But beliefs such as?
It could be the negative inner self-talk. You have to let go of. That
Yeah,
I'm
negative
bad.
inner self-talk. What does
Yeah,
that sound like? What does that sound like?
it sounds like I'm bad. I'm not good enough.
All right.
Kind of stuff.
So some kind of judgment, right? That's
Yes.
that's a form of judgment, and we often experience that as negative. Yeah, our critical inner voice, and therefore often called negative inner self-talk. So something like a part in us that criticizes and judges us. Okay, so we want to have relief from that. What else? What else do we need to let go of, or do we need to leave ourselves from?
Really from our false self, the that we pretend we are, like we're wearing some kind of masks and seek approval from others, and you know different programming that we have. Maybe it's like lack, or that we are not enough, or we like this robots that
Robots,
run,
yes, yeah.
like we run everywhere to just put one fire down after one
Yeah,
fire down. you know
yes, yeah. There's very, very good choice of words here. It really feels that way. It's automatic somehow. Yeah. So I don't like the term false self that much, because it isn't really that it's false. It is a part of us. Yeah. But it is the part in us that is not really connected with our inner truth. It is something that comes from these automatic programs. Yeah. And most of which we call collective or conditioning, or some call it matrix programming. And it's not anything special. It's just like the totality of all these different values and what we're being told. And of course, we can also put manipulation, mind control, and so forth into this, the things that we are told to believe in or to strive for. And so the false self is basically just like a term that culminates all these automatic beliefs. Not all of them are bad, right? I mean, there are some good beliefs in us as well. What are some good values, some good beliefs, some good virtues that we get through being in this collective?
More truth, honesty, loyalty, for example.
Hmm.
um,
Love, right?
love, yeah,
Yeah.
humbleness.
So these things are in us as well, and we all feel them, and we all strive for them. So we have these two selves in us, in a way, that are somehow conflicting with another. Well, now, why is this relevant? Why do we feel that our true self is the one that we need to aspire to? And why aren't we just true with ourselves and others? Why aren't we just all loyalty and all love and all honest. Why aren't we?
We are afraid. We don't feel safe enough within ourselves, I guess. Like we also judge ourselves. We are the ones who probably judge ourselves the most.
Probably. So there's something that we need to liberate ourselves from. And, you call this judgment, you call this negative inner self-talk. And we've already identified that some of that judgment and that negative inner self-talk is part of this collective social experience. Yeah, because it's not just you who experiences that. Everybody does. Yeah, so there's a barrier here. There's a barrier to being true with ourselves, being in truth with ourselves and the world, yeah, that does not allow us to do that. This is extremely important. This is the preamble to even understanding your true self. What is the function of your true self? The function of your true self is to make you strive for authenticity, for, really expressing yourself, for self-expression. And because we have this battle within us, we are experiencing a lot of confusion. We're experiencing a lot of back and forth, push and pull, a lot of pressure within ourselves. And maybe, Linda, that's what you are trying to liberate yourself from. This pressure, the pressure that comes from the inner confliction. Yeah, so on one hand, we have the ego self that, tries to make it in this world according to the rules of this world, which are very egotistical. Yeah, I think it's safe to say that. Yeah, you get the farthest if you, in a pure material sense, if you follow the laws of self-gain. Yeah, dog eats dog, so to speak. But on a spiritual level, this does not feel true to us. This doesn't feel right to us. There's other values, virtues, and things that we want to experience, and we want to experience them from within ourself, our own internalized version of self. And that's what these Connect with Your True Self sessions are for. So let's move into, into this particular session. What was there that we could feel, and how does this relate to what we just talked about? What was maybe some of the physical sensations, maybe the sensations that you could feel in your energy body, if you can already tell the difference? Or maybe just sort of the difference between, what, is coming in sort of in this physical sense, and maybe in an emotional sense, or maybe in a thought sense, in a mental sense. What were some of these sensations that you had as you were tuning into, aligning yourself to this internalized experience of yourself?
Jona, the sessions, from my perspective, it felt actually about paying attention to the impulses we get within ourselves, and actually to be able to tell apart between, is it an impulse of my true self,
Uh-huh.
or is it an impulse of, I don't know, I like is it
Automatic,
like
the robot
automatic,
stuff.
exactly, the
Yeah,
robot
yeah,
stuff. Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
That's
The
how
robot,
the session felt.
it, very, very accurately described. The robot stuff is the automatic stuff is the unconscious experience of self. Yeah, just to keep it a little simpler here. Yeah, it's the pressure between conscious and unconscious, and there's an impulse in us to experience our life and ourselves in it in a more conscious way. That's why we call this spiritual. All right. Now, you see a slide here on your screen that I have produced, I don't know, like maybe 7 or 8 years ago. There's a whole YouTube series called 20 Days of Breaking Through the Matrix. Okay, so Matrix is basically the collective programming. It's the automatic stuff, yeah, the unconscious stuff. And there's a cycle that you see here. And we typically, sort of start the journey right here where you see choose. Yeah, so what we're doing when we tune into our true self is an realignment process. It's an aligning. We're aligning ourselves to our inner truth, to who we experience ourselves from within. First, of course, with all the stuff that works against it. Yeah, so we all have different kind of propensities. Yeah, so some of us are very judgmental, some of us are very, let's say, material, or very fearful about the unknown. Some, those are all different propensities that we have. They're all parts of what we earlier described as our false self, or the unconscious self, or the externalized self. Yeah, false self, externalized self, unconscious self, all the same. And you said something very important, Gosha. You said that in this session, it seemed to be about discerning that. Yeah, like somehow recognizing that this automatic unconscious stuff that we often also call the ego story or the ego narrative, the stuff that just keeps firing in our head, okay, over and over again without us being fully in charge of that. We're not really doing that. It just keeps coming in. All right. To discern that and to recognize that ego story, yeah, or false self narrative or whatever, these are all sort of realms that we're talking about here, that is not going to get us to our internalized experience. It's not going to get us to feel this relaxation that you've described earlier, or the relief that we're seeking for. There's something here that needs to happen to get past this barrier, this matrix barrier, which is the one that puts us into this automatic, this unconscious place. And every time we want to get past the barrier, there is a little bit of a disruption needed. There's a little bit of a letting go, and in fact, there's a sort of a death or dying process that needs to occur, just like how it happens in nature. We're here in the spring equinox in the northern hemisphere, where the cycle begins anew. Yeah, so we're going into spring, yeah, and what was internalized throughout the winter months, yeah, what was in the earth that sort of regenerated itself, now needs to come out. So we're just past that dying process here, that nature needs to regenerate, to start fresh. And this new energy, these new plans, these new impulses, they have to break through a layer, like if you follow the metaphor right now, like they have to break through the earth. It's very beautiful to tune into this, by the way, if you live in the northern hemisphere and you're experiencing the onset of spring, to watch these tiny little sprouts break through the layer of earth. It's extremely powerful. Have you guys ever tuned into that? Yeah, how that actually happens.
It's
Yeah,
the most beautiful thing for me. This is my season.
yeah. It's like where you can fully align yourself to this nature power, okay, that goes through these cycles and has to break through something. This is where we're all standing right now as a collective, standing right here. And one of the issues that we have, if we are still in this conflict too much, is that we're trying to, well, we have to a degree, we're trying to cope too much. We're trying to like hold on tight and, like still make it work and try to maintain, the old habits and routines. But, for most of us, spring is something positive. But, if you just see this as one of many cycles in life, yeah, the coping is what keeps us in our automatic responses to what is going on. So there is, always a little bit of an issue here when it comes to starting fresh. Yeah, we need courage. We need to allow the new. We need to, follow this inner impulse. And here there is still a little bit of a discernment needed, because we need to make sure that it is the right impulse. This is why we're connecting, or that's why we're cultivating this relationship with our true self, because we want to make sure that the guidance we're following here is from our inner truth. Yeah. So there is the need for us to check if the only reason why we're doing this is because we want to have relief. Relief is not a very good motivator, guys. And for this enormous manifestation time that we are in right now, it's very important that you understand that when your manifestation alignment is relief, okay, so basically the absence of something, you don't want this anymore. Yeah, if you use negations with that, I don't want blah blah blah, okay, then your alignment isn't true. It cannot really align to anything that you don't want. You have to focus on what it is that you want, and perhaps find ways to formulate that with yourself. This is also an antidote for your critical inner voice, by the way, because if you hear your critical inner voice, it really just refers to all the flaws and all the stuff that is not good. Okay, and that's why, following the impulse or the guidance of your critical inner voice or your negative inner self-talk isn't very smart, because it all just relates to things that you don't want. So this is where we have to form disciplines with ourselves, and they have to do with the words that we're using and the attitudes and the sentiments that we put out into this world and toward ourselves. We have to recognize that if we want to stand in our own truth, we have to, first and foremost, make sure that the alignment is right. Yeah, that we're sure that this is what we want. Yeah, to stand in truth with ourselves. Yeah, to actually see truth as is. This is a big barrier for a lot of things, for a lot of people. And also that we really want to, seek a betterment or an improvement or a higher expression. So without that, okay, we will still experience somewhat of a pressure there. And for most of us, it's in form of confusion, in form of, flip-flopping, going back and forth. So that's why you find the word discipline here as part of this journey's progression. I know we have to like install new routines. For example, mindfulness, meditation, daily checking in with your true self, daily, maybe even several times a day, to go into this present moment awareness and double check with your true self if this feels like you're in line. You will then discover that there are things that your ego is still holding on to, which is also part of this dying process. You have to let something go, because a lot of times and most of that comes from our coping, a lot of times there's stuff that we're holding on to that we believe we need. yeah, or that we believe we can't do without. And it isn't until, and this is then the bigger process here, so until then, it was mostly the process of, conscious, becoming more conscious living and becoming real. Now you are entering the process of learning how to be more self-loving and actually beginning to trust in this warmth, in this, in this internalized experience of yourself that can also come with, like a whole new understanding of yourself. For many of us, it's often when we form a whole new definition, identity of ourselves. And it is then when we can combine, the discernment, yeah, so what is good for me, what isn't, or what leads me to growth, or what makes me feel warm and what doesn't, yeah, what increases my energy, what is more conducive for me, what, is something that, I can feel leads me into my higher expression, versus the things that are holding me back or that I am holding on to. It is then when we begin to feel, not just to understand it, but to actually feel that self-love is a key for this. We need to be able to really love ourselves. So some of us look for this connection with the true self for exactly that, to feel the warmth, to feel at least sort of a spark of this self-loving. It's almost like it feels almost paternal in a way. It feels, caring, yeah, and sort of reassuring and empowering. And that's then, what we need to start really trust in and allow that to come in. And a lot of times, guys, and this is, part of the process of becoming your true self, or, becoming more true with yourself, is that there's a correction process going on. Yeah, you can see this in the world right now. There need, as soon as you move into more truth, a correction needs to occur. Yeah, like maybe your life circumstances need to be adjusted. Maybe you're not living in the right place. Maybe you're not living with the right people. Maybe the job that you're doing is not conducive for you, or drains you too much. Or maybe you have to, make bigger corrections in your life as far as, like, say, your goals is concerned, yeah, where you reevaluate and reassess. And this is here, getting stuck in the wheel. This is something that a lot of us experience as quite challenging, because the critical inner voice, yeah, that negative self-talk and the false self, they all start hammering us here at this time, yeah. So it is in that final surrender to our inner truth. Yeah, when we're finally ready to come out of the woodwork, when we're finally ready to express ourselves in our own truth and, all the values that you mentioned earlier, such as love and honesty and integrity and so forth. When we're finally ready to step into that, we surrender. And that is the moment where we can step from externalizing into internalizing. That's when we fully out vibrate this matrix, yeah, barrier. You could also call this the unconscious. That's when we make the unconscious conscious, and that's then what allows us to feel something that we call heart consciousness. We can feel our own heart. We have a new navigator. So we go through these three fundamental stages, yeah, of learning how to discern truth, learning how to love ourselves more, yeah, to really feel the love for what we are, and then become familiar with the gateway in us that allows us to do that, yeah, that allows us to really be in this and live in this. Yeah, and you see all kinds of terms here, and this is a very complex infographic that has multiple layers. Don't really need to agree with all of this. This is just a visualization of the cycle that we all go through. So as soon as we have this new navigator, things change. Our mind is no longer just a mind. It is what we often call a heart mind. It is sort of a fusion of, what we're feeling and what we're thinking. And we can own our own thinking. We can own our own feeling. We can own our own body. Yeah, so owning that means that we have a fully internalized experience of our body, mind, and emotion. And that then allows us to be fully present. This is then where we begin to really enter this connection with our truth and our soul self, if you will, which then, because there's also multiple layers or dimensions of that, continues to ask us to release things, and to accept and to realign. So connecting with our true self is a journey that mostly consists of letting go of what's in the way, to feel truth, to feel self-love, and to trust in our heart as a navigator. And for those of you who are interested in why that is so, I want to give you a new perspective on your true self. I often mentioned or spoke about the true self as the mediator between your 3D self and your soul self. Well, the true self is more than just a mediator or translator. It is also the gatekeeper. It is basically this level here of matrix, this barrier, better say, the matrix barrier, is one that we all experience as souls with a body. We can get stuck in our own physicality and therefore forget that we're actually a soul with a body and not a body with a soul, which means we are, focusing on this life only and forget that, this whole sort of, process here in 3D serves our soul. It serves that spirit being in us, that has chosen to incarnate here into this time, into this body of yours, to have a certain experience, what we call, the soul journey, in order to learn, in order to evolve on a different level, not just here in 3D. That's just a very small part of it. It's like a weekend trip for our soul. But the experience that we can make here, as ego selves, is very important for our soul. And the true self's function in that is to make sure that you remember that. In other words, it doesn't fully allow you, just like how your ego self doesn't allow you to, do certain things, that could harm you, that could jeopardize your physical existence. So I often call the ego self the fail-safe. Its purpose is to secure our 3D survival. Okay. With all its psychological properties that can sometimes work against us. It works against us when we want to enter that spirit realm in us, when we want to enter our soul awareness. Then we experience the ego as an adversary to that. And, I recommend that you don't demonize your ego, because that's the function of the ego, is to keep you in 3D. Okay? The function of the true self is to make sure that you don't enter your soul realm, your own spirit being, without the necessary discernment, without the necessary courage, discipline, yeah, trust, and willingness to let go. Because what happens to those of us who accidentally enter the spirit realm of ourselves? What happens to us? You guys are all energetically sensitives. What happens if you accidentally meet yourself without discernment, without the tools to even comprehend what it is that you're experiencing here? What are typical experiences if we don't have enough discernment? If we just see things?
We also see the really dark things,
Yeah,
uh, and it can
it's
be very difficult.
it's like a 5-year-old watching a R-rated movie. Okay, the 5-year-old does not have the tools to psychologically process what he or she is watching there. And it can lead to all kinds of psychological or physical or emotional issues, paranoia, fears, anxiety, PTSD even. Do we have people here in our round who have accidentally entered the spirit realm without the preparation, without the discernment tools needed to
Yeah,
navigate?
I did.
Okay.
Yeah, true.
Mm.
Yeah.
Hmm. And how would you describe the experience? I mean, or the phase in your life? Was that a cool experience or
No, no, that was very
No,
chaotic.
very chaotic,
very scary.
very scary? What did it make you do?
I got a lot of anxiety out of it.
Hmm.
But of course I kept on searching or working on myself and search for help. But it was very scary period.
Very scary.
Very,
Hmm.
very hard. Very, very hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah, I believe I was in some kind of psychosis.
hmm, many of us have, because we're not prepared for this. Yeah. It is impossible for us to see the bigger truth, okay, without tools, without discernment, seen from like a 3D self, from an ego self. All the ego self can see is danger, 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 chaos, danger, chaos, death. Yeah. And you guys already understand what the program of the purpose of the ego self is. It's supposed to keep you here in the physical. So it will respond with all kinds of psychological, emotional, spiritual, and physical illnesses. Yeah. So the purpose of your true self is the gatekeeping. The true self is the gatekeeper. It sends you through a process. It sends you through this cycle over and over and over again. Okay. Until you're ready. You said, Annette, you said you kept searching. Uh-huh. I bet what you experienced is a constant repeat of these cycles, but
Yeah.
perhaps in on different levels. But you kept on going through it because you kept searching. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. I did.
And today,
There was this inner prompting always.
this inner impulse, yes, to
Yeah.
liberate yourself from
Mm.
the blindness, if you will, or the blindness, the 3D-ness, yeah, the automaticness of what it is that we are conditioned with. And today you have those tools.
Yeah.
And yes, this includes myself. For many of us, energetically sensitives, who started this awakening process maybe 20, 30, 40 years ago, we learned it the hard way. We had to, because there was nobody there to share this with or to discuss this with or learn from. Now, it's not entirely true. There are some teachings, some schools that can help us with this, but maybe we didn't feel that these were true for us. Yeah, I mean, religion offers pathways for this initiation process, and so do some mystic schools. New Age pretends it does, but really what New Age does, guys, and this is where my criticism from New Age comes from, New Age offers a shortcut. Says, oh, if you just, have a bunch of crystals and don't eat meat and meditate and do yoga every day and wear certain clothes and talk the spiritual talk, you can get there. Which is why a lot of people experience psychosis when they don't actually go through the full initiation process. So your true self is the gatekeeper. It is the initiator. It is the instance in you that makes sure that when you feel that impulse to enter your soul, the spirit realm within yourself, that you've gone through these processes, which also happen to be, as above, so below, the processes that our entire collective, that the entire humanity is going to have to go through in order to evolve, in order to recognize and begin to live its higher expression. The spirit realm of ourself is the higher expression of ourself. The 3D realm of our expression is the denser, and with it, from a vibratory standpoint, lower expression of who we are. It's not worse, it's just very limited. Yeah. So the impulse for entering our spirit self, or connecting with our soul, is something that we can all feel, and it is programmed into us. We can call this like the divine spark in us. Even people who don't believe in God or anything spiritual will still feel this yearning to connect with a higher expression of themselves. We know this from cave paintings and ancient monuments and so forth. So the point of this deeper understanding of your true self is that you recognize that what is holding you back is not that you're not good enough, or that you miss something, or that you're flawed, or that there is something that you still need to acquire for, or also a misperception or error perception is that you have to go through all the trials and tribulations of this life in order to audition, in order to gain permission to enter the soul realm. That's an error perception. These different realms are always in you. You're a soul with a body, you're a soul that is having a physical experience. And yet, as you're having the physical experience, you cannot remember that. So this initiation journey, that the true self provides for us, is there for us to learn how to overcome the limitations of 3D, and to consciously, and this is very important, to consciously choose our soul. Our soul reality. And that is the job of the true self, and this impulse that you are experiencing through perhaps searching, or the desire for autonomy, for relief from some of the limitations in 3D. But be careful there. If it's only relief based, you'll not get there. Okay. Once you enter your true self, or once you go through this gate, you will have, or you will, have acquired a new compass in you. And that is the one that allows you to not only discern, your own sensations, to understand what is good for you, for your body, and what isn't. Not only to discern and know your own thoughts, not only are you able to freely think, you're also able to freely feel. Therefore, you're able to freely express yourself. You no longer experience any of these limitations, even though you're still in 3D. And that's the part that we need to recognize. Namely, that this whole process of quote unquote getting there is a process of letting go. The acquiring of your heart consciousness and this navigator happens through letting go of all the error perceptions that come with the ego narrative. So that's what the function of the true self is, as I have pointed out in the instructions for this session, and also my writings on my website and all videos. The most important journey we can enter is the Alpha and the Omega. It's the beginning and the end of this journey here in 3D. So with that, I would like to close this beautiful, very insightful, albeit quite challenging, Connect with Your True Self session. If you want to know more about your own internalization process, come back next month, any month. That is the 12th year I'm doing this every month. Or if you want some more individualized, some more personal help, assistance with this, you can check out my programs that assist on various levels of this journey, or private sessions with me. I want to thank all the co-facilitators for this session. Yeah, so it wasn't just me who facilitated this. Annette, Jared, Charlize, and Gosha helped out with holding the field, making it a safe experience for you so that you could internalize yourself. Thank you, guys, and thank you for coming here, for being patient with the technical hiccups that we had in the beginning. Yeah, and if you like this kind of talk, come to our Wednesday energy talks, where I pick topics that relate to current events and current energetic developments. Thank you so much, and welcome as a true self. Stay conscious.